You're listening to Startup Universe Talks, a podcast where we meet with startup founders, angel investors, and major stakeholders of the startup ecosystem. They let us in on the do's and don'ts of running a startup, their career story, and the process of succeeding as well as failing. In other words, everything of interest to startup nerds. Startup Universe is a massive network of opportunities for EU tech startup founders, connecting them with the best minds of the EU tech community, with unicorn founders, known investors, and experts. We have brought together European countries to join forces and launch startup programs suitable for their nation's tech founders. ESU aims to give access to opportunity for funding and expansion across EU countries. Welcome to Startup Universe Talks. I am Maritza, and today I am here with entrepreneur and founder of Meta Ventures, Igor Tasic. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Maritza. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. I think the people want to find out more about your background. Can you tell me how your career started and how it came to be where it is right now?
Okay. Let's say that I have a traditional business background. I studied business administration, economics, and I did a master's, MBA, a PhD in technology. I worked as an executive, as a strategy consultant. But I think that the most important thread in my career has been that I've always been an entrepreneur. I think I've always been, my first business, I actually started when I was 10. I had these lucky amulets that I used to have to sell to people, to my mom's friends. Didn't work so well, but it was something that was in me. When I joined the executive world, and I basically joined with the mission of learning how was to work for other people before working for myself, how was to be an employee, how was to be a boss, how was it that I could learn from my own mistakes, from other people's mistakes. And then when I was in strategy consulting, I learned so much from all over the world. And I said, look, now is the time. And it was right after the world economic crisis in 2008. I said, look, I'm going to jump now into the rabbit hole because otherwise you always postpone. That's something that happens with people that are executives. I wish I would be an entrepreneur, and there was a point that you just do the emotional calculation, not the financial calculation, which is also important, and then you jump into the rabbit hole, and I started doing business. My first business was doing business between Europe and Latin America. My background, I'm originally Brazilian, but also Spanish, with a mix of many DNAs and cultures. So that's why I think the metaverse is so easy for me. So I started many businesses around, and then back in 2015, and then I think that's how I got connected to Thanos. I started something called Startup Europe Week, with the goal of supporting nascent entrepreneurs, people that not necessarily were in the super hubs and the super hot spots like Silicon Valley or London or Berlin or New York, but they were also entrepreneurs. It doesn't matter if you don't have the money, if you don't have the best degrees. And I thought, this is absurd. We could do something starting here in Europe, just to give the confidence for these people that no matter where they are, no matter where they come from, they could start very small in their neighborhood. So we could have people from a big city like Rome or a small city in the middle of Greece. It doesn't matter. You can still be an entrepreneur with the support of your local community. So that thing grew very quickly. I didn't expect that. Eventually, in the first year, it got in more than 30 countries, in more than 300 regions. By year 5, when I decided to step down during the COVID pandemic, We were in more than 50 countries, more than 500 cities beyond Europe, had events in China, Africa, Latin America, all over. And with this, like a very simple meetup where people could just connect to their communities. From that point, and I'm giving you this long answer to a short question, the metaverse, or the idea that we go beyond the local community, but you go to the community of one, the one that you yourself can be the spinning wheel for to start your business. That's what's actually always got me very interested, and I think now is the time. So that's why I decided to move on. I think Startup Europe Week still continues, and I wish the best of luck. But I think my contribution was over for 5 years. I think that was that taught me a lot, and we can talk more about this. That's it. I think that a career that started, let's say, traditional, but I was never a traditional person. I always had this entrepreneurial mindset on top, and everything I did, I made sure that every interaction I had over my career, I've always make sure that I can learn, and I can, by give something, I can learn by this giving. So it's a real exchange. It's never a negotiation. It's always an exchange. Mm. Long answer, Maurizio, sorry.
No, it was a long and good answer. I appreciate it. I would like to ask you more about the metaverse, but I think first I would like, can you give me like, how would you describe what the metaverse is? Because I feel like a lot of people know what it is, like you have some idea, but how you would actually describe it?
Yes, that's a very good point. I was giving an interview to Yahoo Finance the other day, and a journalist asked me the exact question, and it's always for me, like, first, I'm never sure about things. I have doubt when people are so sure about something. So no, look, let me tell you what the metaverse is, like this, 3 points. And then they come back with blockchain, NFT, then come back to whatever they want to actually sell. And I'm not saying that there's not part of it, but to me, the metaverse, and this is what I'm trying to find the truth in here, is beyond. I think it's this. I don't even like the word, to be honest. I think if we use metaverse for the sake of understanding, fantastic. But if we want to use another thing, like in the past, the internet was used to call cyber highway or cyberspace. Okay, whatever it is. If it's metaverse. But it's a place where the internet's not a place where you go, but it's a place where you are, where you live. When you just don't connect to the internet anymore, but you are living there, and part of your persona and whoever you are is no different from your physical and digital counterpart. First of all, look, I don't need the digital counterpart to survive. That's so true. We don't need it. And that's actually one of the biggest disgraces of the 21st century, is this distance from nature, how people got distant from nature. And this is a huge disgrace. And I think most people get it wrong about the metaverse. Oh, so you're going to be in this Oculus on this, and you're not going to be in nature anymore. No. It's the opposite. If you know how to use technology, you appreciate nature even more. And you make sure that whenever you are in a physical space, you really take the best of that physical space. But the physical space shouldn't be about just giving a presentation, just be in a hotel room for 8 hours, giving a training with everybody looking at the PowerPoint. That could be way more interesting in the digital world because it's digital anyway. But when we start to accept that we ourselves are already a hybrid, we are recording this in 2022. Everybody has a social account, social media account. But I'm not that addicted. A lot of people lie. I'm not that addicted. Everybody has. You can have levels of addiction or levels of usage, but everybody is present somewhere, and that is part of their identity. I asked some of my employees, I say, look, what is the most important part of your body? Most people will say, my phone, my mobile phone, because if you lose your mobile phone, you lose part of yourself. So if you throw your phone in the lake, you really go crazy. And now we have studies proving how our brain are totally connected to that in many ways. And again, and you're talking to a technology person. I really love technology. But I think the metaverse is less about technology and is more about mindset. It's more about learning how to use technology so we can actually be better humans. We can, for good now, we say, look, the internet was great when we started, like the electricity, or like sanitation, like water. One of the biggest miracles you have in your house, Maurice, is your bathroom, is the fact that you click on a button and then you have electricity, you have light, you have a fridge. Your great-grandparents, my great-grandparents, they had a hell of a day just to get food around. And we don't value this because we are lucky enough to be living in a time and space where this is taken for granted. So think about 40 years from now. What is the internet going to be? How the kids that are now 10, 8 years old, how are they going to be when they are 50? What is going to be the internet? The fact that you and I are just talking, to me, this is the metaverse, because I mean, I know where you are, you know where I am, but it doesn't matter because we are in this space, this digital space. In the future, in the near future, this would matter even less. And this is, a lot of people say, oh, but this is a disgrace because you're going to dehumanize. I think this is awesome because someone in the middle of Africa or in the middle of Brazil or in the middle of Sweden or in the middle of Japan, they could be as valuable as anyone else, no matter where you come from, what gender you have, what color you have, whatever you are. I don't care. Can you be effective and productive? That's what I take. An example, and then I sum up, then we can keep talking about it. One of my employees, he's disabled. He's not 100% disabled. He can only move his head and his hands. Okay, so whatever physical advantage I have for being a big guy, and I don't have in the metaverse. But whatever disadvantage he has physically, he doesn't have in the metaverse either. So when we meet there, when we work there, it's just mind to mind. So I'm not interested in his disability. We just talked about this once. I'm interested in what he can produce. And guess what? He's great. He's a hell of an employee. In the physical world, he would have a lot of limitations. There, he's limited by his mind. So if his mind is free, he can be a hell of an employee. Okay. So imagine this worldwide. Imagine freeing people's minds from all over, getting their best of themselves, and then the internet is this huge place where you're going to have the connectedness that I think the pandemic brought up, that a lot of people never have a call like you and I are having. They would never have. Now they say, oh, okay, I have to have it. And now we are seeing, again, we're recording this 2022. I see a pushback. A lot of people just trying to, no, let's go back to that normal, as if we were super productive back then. We are not. Why don't we keep the physical part for the great things that we can do physically? So you are in Greece. Fantastic if you go to an island, to a beach, fantastic. Or if you go to skiing, that's you still have to do physically. But work, have your colleague, have someone 9 to 5 in front of you, just in front of your office, just drinking coffee in front of you for 8 hours, just cursing and complaining about his miserable life, when this person could be super productive at 1 a.m. in the morning. And then you can work on Slack. And then you can just pop up, send some message, and then we get more work done, people working less, more effectively, freeing their time, earning more. That's a perfection. And you're not even talking about socialism and capitalism. You're just talking about something completely new, powered by technology. How are we going to use it? It's up to us.
So what do you think is the reason why a lot of people are skeptical and a little bit frightened about this development?
Honestly, I think there is a lot of hypocrisy here, because everybody talks about the metaverse. This is this weird thing because you use this Oculus, and because it's from Facebook and this evil corporation and these evil corporations, and then we complain about it, but then everybody's on WhatsApp from the same evil corporation, and everybody's on Instagram, and everybody's on LinkedIn from Microsoft, and so we have these double standards all the time, where everybody spend most of their time in front of a screen. So they are in a very badly curated metaverse, whatever you call it. And now this perspective of being more immersive, more humanized. I don't know if you had experience, but it's of using VR. But if you and I were in this in my office, for example, and we would be physically close. If I spoke like from afar, you would feel that I was a little bit afar. If I was close, you're going to feel my physical proximity. Of course, not physical proximity. We're digital. We are hybrid. So that actually humanizes more than not. But I think everything new always scares people. I think that's the nature of humankind. What I feel in this case that is different compared to, for example, when we had the launch of smartphones. People are like, "Oh, smartphones, this is great. I can access the internet on a phone." And I remember having a BlackBerry before the iPhone. Oh, it's great because I could send emails. That's fantastic. It was easy. And before that, I have a Palm Pilot, and it was also great because I didn't have to walk with my pen and paper, which I still do. So now, the possibility of being teletransported to a place and meet people hybridly or physically hybridly, whatever you call it, to me it's fantastic. It expands the reality. It's really expanded reality, more than virtual. It's expanded reality. We have the physical, we have the 2D that you and I are doing right now, and then we have the 3D digital that it could be. But then people speculate. They just see that again. So most of the conversation, because it was powered by Mark Zuckerberg or whoever call it, people say, no, the thing is about freedom. It's about blockchain. It's about NFT, which could be part of it. It's like part of the digital world that we are part of. But come on, that's not the most transformational thing you're talking here. It's about using the internet and not even about, I'm not talking about just expanded reality from the glasses itself, but think about the sensors. I don't know. I have my Apple Watch. This is a sensor that I actually pay attention to this. Oh, Igor, your heartbeat is too when you're training. Okay, I should slow down. So I'm actually a cyborg already because I'm paying attention to a sensor that is powered by an algorithm. And if you think about that in 20, 30 years time, everything is going to be super connected. Your house is going to be super connected. Where your street is going to be super connected. How are we going to interact with that? People just are critical because they see this little thing, the VR. But if you think broadly, if you think about the bigger picture, technology, and again, a tool is a tool. How you're going to use this tool, it's up to you.
Okay, so essentially we actually use VR, but not as sophisticated VR, more than we realize. So people who are skeptical are already within it just without realizing.
Our reality is already expanded in many ways. Again, by the time you're using a phone, you're already expanding your physical reality because you're accessing information. Think about it. We were talking about this before, about journalism. So what was journalism in the past? You had the paper. You would go to a place and you buy a paper that was printed on a paper in the morning, and then you could read the news from yesterday by journalists that would be working until midnight to close the editorial, and then you would print, and then you have the paper. And that was an expanded reality because before that you had nothing before the paper. The paper itself was a revolution. The press was a revolution. Why Gutenberg was such a revolution? Because the press changed everything. It scaled ideas. So in the past, you just had this one person preaching, or this emperor, or this priest, or whoever leader in the tribe. Whoever was around in the tribe could listen. But then you had the press. You could actually have books printed. So one person could write one book and print 1,000 times, so a lot of people could be reading that. Now we have the internet. So the idea is very simple. It's very basic. We're still very tribal. The thing is that before a person to have access to their voice, just his or her voice, it would take a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of influence. Now you just tweet.
So what if you could dream and decide what the future would look like in terms of this in like 5 to 10 years? What do you hope it is?
I hope it will be curated. To be honest, I think we miss the curation of things, the good things. Like I'm drinking a coffee, so it's like a good coffee. What is it to drink a good coffee? Not just drinking coffee liters, but what is it to drink a very nice coffee? I'm going to drink just once a year this coffee, but it's going to be so great that I don't need to drink 10 liters. So the digital experience should be the same. I don't have to be 100% of the time using whatever you're using, or watching whatever news, or reading whatever emails. I don't know if you realize your inbox, but my inbox grew exponentially over the last 2 years because people need to talk more. And then just whatever newsletter they used to come like once a month, now it comes every 4 hours. And that is noise because it's one person, then you have the other person. So the power of curation, if you don't have curators, the biggest threat here, I think, is lack of curation. People that can pause and say, look, this is a good experience. So this is a good text. It's worth reading it. It's worth eating it. It's worth drinking it. It's worth visiting it. So I'm not advocating for a society of less, but definitely if we just go more, we're done. We can't go more, like, oh, go to space. Okay, but your brain cannot process that amount of information of consumption. And I'm not advocating for any ideology. I'm ideology free. I look for freedom, absolute freedom. But I know that if everything tastes the same, and if everything should be seen, if there is a fear of missing out, if everything is FOMO, if I have to have the next NFT or the next metaverse X or the next coffee or the next trip or the next experience, eventually, people are going to be meditating and taking psychedelics like 100% of the day, and it's still not going to be enough. And I think that if we don't take action right now and start curating and talking about this right now, it will happen. Because think about social media. I remember I was studying in Columbia Business School back in 2006 in New York, and I took this class called user-generated marketing, user-generated content. And there was this website called youtube.com. It had 1 million videos. I thought, oh, this is a great website. It's called videos. I remember the internet back then. Think about what YouTube has become. I use it almost every day, but I know specifically what I'm looking for. But think about a kid that is 10-year-old that just start watching YouTube, then TikTok. Then I'm not saying that there isn't great content there in this platform. There are great content because that's where people are. Whatever good people producing content is there, bad people producing content is there. But this power of curation that we're talking before about, great journalists, great journals, great papers, great science. What is science? Science is about reading papers, but look, this is the thing that doing experiments, testing, getting it wrong. Science is more about proving wrong than proving right. But look, I found these 500 ways that it doesn't work. Please don't do it because it's not going to work. Maybe there is these 2 things that could work, but these 500 things, not going to work.
That is truly, truly fascinating. And I like the idea of essentially concentrating the usage of internet and making it less but better. I would like us to go in a little bit of a different direction now.
Yes.
I would like to ask you a little bit more about the startup field. So could you share with me your top 3 advice for early stage startups?
Well, I think it's 3 in 1. It's very basic. And most people forget, especially these days where resources seem to abound and people think that you can raise €1 million just because you wake up and then you should. Great entrepreneurs, expert entrepreneurs, they start with 3 things. They start knowing very well who they are, what they know, and whom they know. So before starting something, irrespectively of what business you are in or you're going to start, knowing yourself. So the first point, so who you are, knowing yourself. It's not going, it's a real self-examination. I'm not talking about going to therapy. I'm not going talking about meditating 10 hours. I'm just talking about who you are. Are you a more extroverted person or introverted? You are more, you like to talk to people, you don't. You are a person who likes to read things deeply, or you don't. It doesn't matter. There is no prescription. This, by the way, I hate prescriptions. This is not a prescription at all. But people follow, they want prescriptions. They prescriptionize whatever you say. And who you are is the number one thing that you cannot prescriptionize, because if you don't understand who you are, whatever business you're going to start, whatever you're going to do, if it doesn't click, it's going to fail, even if it's super highly successful. So you have a lot of entrepreneurs that are miserable. They are millionaires, but they are miserable. Or they are billionaires and they just are miserable. They want to buy the next thing, or they want to launch the next thing. Why is never enough? Why there's no contempt? So number one, great expert entrepreneurs know who they are and they play around this circle of confidence. What do you know? Second point. What do you know? Again, oh, I don't have an MBA. It was okay. But what do you know? I cook pizza. Do you really like it? Yes. Because I can think here like 1,000 business of pizza. It could be a delivery. It could be a restaurant. It could be consulting for pizza makers. It could be just talks about pizza. It could be interviews, ingredient makers. It could be about flour. So what do you know is a huge resource already for getting started. And again, people get into this silo mentality that because they follow one guy, they follow an Elon Musk. Whoever is this guy, I don't care about. But if everybody's following him, we're done here, Maritza, because you're going to have a lot of Me Too's of a lot of frustrated, especially men. I'm talking about if young men following this guy as a model. He's not. I'm sorry, he's not. But and I'm very contrarian here. So if you focus starting with who you are and what you know, you're already building a lot of resources here. And then whom you know. This is key. And it's not about networking for the sake of networking. But like you and I, we know each other now. Oh, we are doing this interview, but I don't know, maybe in 10 years' time, Mauricio, there is an opportunity for do something that I'm going to remember you. And you're going to remember me. And this is how things work. Like I do business with friends and people that I met for like 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago. And we never talked about business, but we are always very cordial and professional about it. And now look, there is an opportunity. Fantastic. Think about how many people you know, Mauricio, yourself, regardless of how many contacts you have on LinkedIn, but you start knowing your parents, and your parents know other people. I don't know if you have brothers and sisters, but they know other people. And then you have some friends, like you have 5 friends, and then you have other. So this power of true network, and true network is not social networks. True network is these people that I know, that know me, that we don't have to be friends, but with them, I can get started. Again, I'll go back to my pizza example and go back to the Startup Europe weekdays. If I'm starting a pizza business, I'm going to sell to my neighbors. So if I know these 5 people, look, can you take for free my 5 people? Just give me a feedback, okay? You're going to write on my page here, and then I'm going to give a feedback. I got it started already. I'm in business. I'm not in scale business, but that's, again, what most people forget when they are starting, that I have to raise money. So I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs. People say, no, I'm raising. What are you raising? Consciousness? Because if you're raising money, you're not talking about solving a problem and focusing on these basic resources. Eventually, you're gonna hit the wall with a lot of money, with a lot of clients, with a lot of products. So we have this state now. We have a lot of people starting business with products that are useless, and that concerns me, because I see a lot of very talented people not being effective, in the sense that they are super productive. There is a lot of busyness, not business, but people busy, but not solving the hard problems with the good solutions that not necessarily take money. It just takes more, again, concentration.
I feel like concentration is the leading word here during this interview.
It is, right? I didn't realize, but it is.
It has been so much fun talking to you today. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation, and congratulations on the work of talking to entrepreneurs. It's really, entrepreneurship, I think, is something that is human. We are all entrepreneurs. Doesn't matter if you have a job, if you don't. The power of what humans can do to innovate is always present. The thing is that if we can find this before we die.
Yes, that's the perfect note to end it on. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marisa. Thank you for the invitation.
You've been listening to Startup Universe Talks. If you want to know more about us, go to thestartupuniverse.org and follow us on social media. Thank you for listening.